Hey everybody, welcome to another one of Martin's print and play tutorials. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about card formats for your print and play game. In particular, we're going to be talking about should you go with the traditional card format or card layout or with the Gutterfold layout. So what goes into the decision to choose that format that you think would be right for your particular print and play game? So let's get started. So here we have a screen that's an overview of the two different formats side by side, right? So on the left side of the screen, you've got the traditional format, also known as the 9-card grid, or sometimes referred to just as the 9 grid, because as you can see, there's 9 cards to this particular page. And then on the right side, we've got the Gutterfold format. And in brief, with Gutterfold, you've got the cards fronts and backs on the same page. And so when you print that out, you'll be able to fold the page lengthwise, and then the cards and the backs will line up. And it's a pretty easy way to be able to produce very quickly cards that have the cards fronts and backs kind of aligned. I'll be digging more into the details of these formats as we get deeper into the video. I'll be talking about the characteristics of each one in detail. I'll be talking about the advantages of each one and also the potential disadvantages. And then at the end of it, we'll kind of put them all side by side, sum it all up, and then help you make the decision, or at least give you the everything that you have to factor into how you would decide which format that you would use for your particular print and play game. All right, so let's get started with the traditional format. So as I mentioned earlier, in traditional format, the cards are arranged in a grid on the page. Generally speaking, there are 9 cards to a page if you're talking about poker-sized cards on a US letter size page. Now, the fronts would all be on a single page, and then if you've decided to include the card backs, they would be on a separate page and kind of arranged in a mirrored format, such that if you printed out those 2 pages, here's the page with your fronts, here's the page with your backs, you could then put them back to front like that, and then you could glue those pages together, and then the fronts would line up with their backs on either side. Right, so that's kind of like the default way of producing a traditional format print and play file. Now, let's talk about the advantages of the traditional format. So as I mentioned earlier, it's very suitable for double-sided printing, or what's called duplex printing. There's a couple of different ways to do duplex printing. You could do auto duplex if your printer supports it, where the printer itself will automatically flip the sheet inside the housing and then print the fronts and the backs on one side of a page. Or you could do manual duplex, where you yourself, the user, would insert the page once, print the front, say, and then insert it again, print the backs, right? So once you've got that, then you can laminate that sheet, and then you can have a nicely laminated card with the front and the back. Also, this 9-card grid or traditional format is also suitable for what's with the technique of just sleeving your cards, right? So taking, printing it, say, on plain paper or cardstock, pairing it with an old playing card, and then inserting it into an appropriately sized card sleeve, right? That's another way that, popular way that folks would make print and play games or prototypes. So one of the other advantages of this is that because you're able to fit more cards per page than the Gutterfold format, then it uses less pages, right? It's also very widely adopted. It's a very common way. The traditional way is the very kind of common way to deliver your print and play files. So those are the advantages. Now let's talk about some of the disadvantages of the traditional format. It can be tricky to line up the fronts and the backs. And if you're doing duplex printing, it can be virtually impossible, really, really tough to get 100% front-back alignment. And the reason for that is because home printers just weren't made for the task of like pixel-level alignment of fronts and backs. That's not the job that they were created for. They were created for putting text on a page, and kind of pixel perfect alignment on that page wasn't really part of what they were designed to do. So there's always going to be variations inside of the mechanisms of most home level printers where it's going to be very, very difficult to really get great front back alignment. So a lot of folks would be, kind of like at that point, they'll choose to print the front separately and the back separately, and then kind of cut them and then figure out a couple of different ways to line them up and then glue them, affix them together, and so these now get you into the realm of more involved ways of producing the cards. All of these ways are possible, but they require practice. They require a little bit more skill, more learning curve to that whole kind of experience. So those are some of the disadvantages of the traditional or 9-card format. Now, let's go and shift our attention to the Gutterfold format, which you see here on the right side of the screen. So first of all, let's describe the characteristics of the Gutterfold format. So first of all, in the Gutterfold format, you see the card fronts and the backs, their corresponding backs, on the same page, right? And then they're arranged in 2 columns. Here, what you see here is a very common Gutterfold style where the card fronts are in the left column and then the card backs are in the right column. And so the idea is once you print this page, you can then take that page, fold it lengthwise, and the card fronts will neatly line up with their corresponding back. And then once you've got that fold done, then you could put glue in there in between them. You could insert some sort of backing to make it an even stiffer card. Some folks insert a sheet of laminate in between to kind of like give the paper a little bit more of a playing card snap and feel. So there's a couple of ways that you can iterate on the Gutterfold form once you've got the cards in the Gutterfold format. Now, what are some of the advantages of the Gutterfold format? Well, they are much easier to align the fronts and the backs because they're printed on the same page, right? And that makes it convenient if your preferred method of making the cards is by printing it to paper or cardstock and then kind of folding them. Basically, if you want to make cards, if you're not going to laminate them, right? And so this makes it a very friendly format for people who are newer to print and play, right? Now, some of the disadvantages are you're kind of locked in, and with the Gutterfold format, you're locked into that one way of producing the cards with just like folding the paper and gluing it. It's not really suitable for folks who like to do duplex printing or double-sided printing or laminating of the cards. This format also uses more pages because, as you can see, you've got fewer cards per page. In this case, we've only got 4 cards per page with their backs. So you end up using slightly more pages to deliver the same game or the same card game in Gutterfold rather than in traditional. Also, Gutterfold is not as widely adopted as traditional, so fewer folks will be familiar with it. So should you go with traditional format or should you go with the Gutterfold format? So let's try to boil this down for you here. If you would choose the traditional format if you want a format that's compatible with multiple card production methods, one that uses up less paper, and one that's the most widely adopted, most common card layout. Now, if you, on the other hand, wanted a format that made it very, very easy and convenient to line up the card fronts and the backs, one that is very kind of an easy on-ramp to producing your game for folks who are new to print and play, and if the page count or file size of your print and play PDF isn't really that big of a deal to you, then you might want to choose Gutterfold. If you really want to take it to the next level, you could deliver your game in both formats, both traditional and Gutterfold. There are a couple of exceptional companies that deliver their print and plays, like Gamelin Games, the makers of the Tiny Epic series, that all of their print and play versions of their Tiny Epic games are delivered in traditional format and what they call ORC PNP, which is really their term for the Gutterfold format. Not only that, but they also deliver them in different paper sizes, US letter, A4, and A3 formats as well. So you pay one price and you get basically 6 different complete print and play files the same game in different formats, which is really kind of best in class that I've seen. There's no other company that I've seen that kind of does that. So I hope that I've been able to boil that down for you and kind of make clear what would be the factors that you'd have to consider if you were choosing between the traditional format for your print and play files or the Gutterfold format. And I hope that this video has been useful to you. And if you want to know more about other topics related to print and play, please go ahead and drop it in the comments below. And I hope that you want to support this effort of mine to bring more print and play information to you. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like my videos, press the like button, and just keep on following Martin's print and play tutorials. Until the next video, this has been Martin. Thanks for watching.